So actually, check my comments for once. Been too busy to do much, um, dealing with other stuff. But someone said something about what's going on in Africa. What do I think's going on in Africa? Well, it's probably the same thing that keeps going on. We have the world's richest man got his riches off problems in Central West Africa, Central and West Africa. Mostly West Africa is generally what people talk about when they refer to dark people, because the South's kind of colonized, and then the North is kind of Egypt. So we're generally talking about, when we say Africans, we're talking about West Africans normally, and Central African area. But we got Elon Musk. He owns, he's the world's richest man. He owns diamond mines. It's the same story. As far as I can see, it's just the same story. They're talking about France. They want to get rid of the France things. Isn't that odd? Elon Musk, I mean, he looks Israeli, and his parents do too, obviously. But he kind of looks like Napoleon Bonaparte too, doesn't he? Makes you question. I mean, I've always questioned that, because I know, like, I've seen things enough, and then I just see Napoleon, and I'm like, oh, that looks kind of like some people I know. And they kind of got the same attitude problem, that they should just go around enslaving everyone else, as some other people might have. Like, I mean, Elon Musk, I mean, he's just running his mouth and lying, and everyone's worshiping him for that. I haven't heard any of the African talk about that. But then again, I don't hear African talk. I hear what the WestNet, Oceanianet allows me to see, and I have no idea what's going on somewhere else unless I go there. Really, all I knew about some other places before I went there, and I knew I didn't trust this. So when I'm going to Mexico, I'm not like, oh my God, the cartels are going to kill me. They're everywhere. They ate the gringos. And I go there, and it's like, man, bro, anything. It's like a militarized police state from what I've seen. I didn't see cartels running about, and I'm pretty sure all that other stuff I seen was people who were going to stop the cartels in about 2 seconds if they'd seen him running around, causing problems to little people and stuff. So, I knew what not to expect when I went there, because they told me what to expect, and that's what not to expect. But I didn't know I was going to see kind of like a reverse, where they actually, that's kind of like a Republican's dream, I think. It's someone's dream in this nation, apparently, because, boy, the level of enslavement and force and government control over stuff is just pretty far off the hook. I mean, I live on the internet, where I'm sure it's isolated from other nations. And they tell us China's evil because China has their own internet, and they openly do that. And it's like, well, sound like better people, because I'm being lied to, and they're at least telling their citizens, get away from those people. We're not letting you out there. So when I go there and I see, like, like a militarized police force, and not scared of any cartels, I don't see the cartels running around throwing Molotovs at them, then I'm like, okay, yeah, I already knew I didn't know what was going on somewhere else. But when I seen that, it just confirmed I didn't know what was going on somewhere else. But with the Africa thing, with the whole story, with the West and Central Africa area, those places have been, like the whole continent's been kind of colonized, except for maybe Egypt. Like, there's stories of Egypt. So, don't quote me on that, but maybe Egypt wasn't like colonized and taken over. But a lot of people got a lot of stories about Egypt, and some of those stories come from the people who are lying to you. So we don't know if there was truly any slaves in Egypt, even because, I mean, that's who owns the diamond mines now. Is the slaves of Egypt rule the world now? Imagine that. That's that's a turnabout. They go from being the Pharisees and Sadducees to the pharaohs themselves. Hmm. Story doesn't quite end up very well there, but I think that's probably what it is. That's what they're talking about, and obviously, every time something's happening in this world, everyone else is trying to get in on it, and there are people who have vested interests in all those resources, like Elon Musk. He wouldn't be the richest person in the world if he didn't own those mines over there, if he didn't somehow secure them and stuff. But he's a great person because he earned his wealth, right? Right. And you got their government who's been propped up, probably on both sides. I mean, isn't that how it's played? I mean, in America, it's played, they prop it up 7 ways. You got left, right, libertarian, smelling fishy, and like 5 other choices. It's just 7 ways controlled. So if you got a place, especially that's as low level civilization, has few resources. I mean, they got resources, but someone else is obviously owning the land that's on. Then it's probably easy to just control them from both sides. And there's been so many problems there where they're always finding out that their people are getting paid by France or Europe or, I mean, USA media is not going to tell us USA until they pull the plug on USA. When they start talking about pulling it, they've already done that kind of, but I'm sure they got a lot of plugs there they can pull when they finally want to drain it. So they're not saying in their media that they want rid of the West. They're saying they want rid of colonialization in France. Now, I'm not sure what France is doing besides their previous ventures there. Maybe the first people to go there and who were remembered anyways. But it could just be the first people, the only people we're allowed to talk about because, I mean, Elon Musk isn't in France. So Elon Musk is over in USA. And if anything, they're probably mad that, like, I don't know. I'd logically think that, like, if I lived in the poorest country in the world and the richest person in the world is somewhere else in beautiful palaces, like the world's most, I mean, wow. He claims he gets eco homes, but it's like, okay, his corporations are giant palaces. It's not a big difference. And then the whole, like, they got like the whole world worshiping the whole nation. If you're liberal, you love that space in between your head stuff. You love going out there in space and getting lost and exploring. It's all about exploring new territories, I guess. Like, you know, hey, that's in Musk's blood, apparently, is to go where no man has gone before and plant his flag there. Or maybe find some Martians there and you just take it anyways. And yeah, that's probably really what it is. And then they're probably funding both sides. And who knows, they probably got like 5 or 6 smaller rebel units out there. Because, I mean, when you do an insurrection, like, you've done it so long, they know you need more than one opposition to really mess things up. If you're just trying to reduce intelligence and numbers to make sure that whatever happens, you control the land. I don't think they care about enslaving the people anymore. They got plenty of slaves in the United States. They're well trained. They send them off to school for 20, 40 years while their parents sit at home and watch the TV for, after they've been in school 20 some years. They watch TV to learn what they're supposed to learn for the next half their life. So I don't think they're worried about enslaving anyone anymore. It's probably all just about resource grabs, and you probably do have groups over there that are being a little paid. I mean, when you think about it, probably everyone's like taking money from other nations. Every leader is like involved in some sort of deal, right? I don't know if there's any nations that are actually isolated and don't do any sort of deal with another nation. I'm sure that nation would have been taken over a long time ago or forced into some deals. So they all kind of do that. And obviously you got Russia and the West. The West. I mean, you got half the planet, another half of the planet, and then like a small, like 10% that's kind of like in between them. And those people are all like vying for resources. And you need the collective resources to put it together to build things like stronger cement, electronics, fancy shiny things that can be sold for a lot of money. I've always assumed that they know a little more about the gems and stuff. Sorry, I gotta look for a delivery person. I always assumed that since they're the ones behind tech, they seem to be like some sort of alien species, they might have always known the value of gold and gems and their ability to be used in technology or other purposes and stuff. So that could be one reason why they work so hard to secure it, and then they put on the front that it's just shiny, valuable things that mean a lot because it's a sign of conquering people. And it really means you love someone if you conquer and kill some people and give your friends and family their stuff, right? I mean, I think there's more to it than that because look, technology does use crystals, and I think they're still hiding a lot. Like, there's probably a lot more to that. I've always known that. But they use gold on buses and stuff. You know, copper. Copper's a valuable metal itself. And silver. Silver is good, but it tarnishes so quick, so you have to mix it with other metals. You gotta make an alloy of it or something like that, protect it, whatever. So I think they always must have known that, because how else did they know how valuable these shiny trinkets were, like a couple thousand years ago, that they should really fight to get it. It's like gold is money and all this. It's like, well, what is gold really? Well, it's on every piece of electronic. It makes them work. That's odd that gold is just some lumpy clay stuff that's shiny. And it's like basically famous because it's shiny. And you have to work to mine it. It makes zero sense. I mean, not that people make sense. But I think they've always known. And they're like, they always do the little karma thing where they gotta run their mouth about what they do. I mean, like I keep saying, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just like Skeletor screaming at the top of his lungs, like, we've got the gold and diamonds now. We're going to space. Give me more money. Give me more gold so we can go to space. Yeah, I really think that's probably what it is they're like setting up a rebellion. I mean, those people are probably always wanting to do this. Um, I don't see how you would wake up in some areas of the world and especially over there, like imagine living within like, 20, 40 miles of the of the gem mines Elon Musk owns, and you live in like a mud shack. You might be working in that mine. Although I assume those people are smart enough not to hire locals and to try to outsource it. Again, if they're doing that, if they bring like, if Elon Musk's family brings the French, the Germans, or the Russians over, anyone to mine the gold instead of local people or mine the gems, not sure which mines he owns. Probably his family extended owns all of them, but so gold isn't correct. But hell, that's an odd thing too. Every time they talk about that, they say gem mines. Gem mines? You mean like Jim and the holograms? With Jim, there are semi-worthless gems out there. I never read where they stated what that is. I think that's odd. That's a little odd thing there. And how many of these mines does he own if he owns the gem mines? Because there's a lot of gem mines. But anyways, if you live in that area and you see like the richest dude in the world on TV laughing all the time with his futuristic cars and all this stuff, and you're like living in a mud hut, and he's just coming over here and taking this stuff on your land back to go to Spaceland with, then, that probably pisses some people off. Like, if I seen people doing that in my neighborhood, I'd like instantly be like, maybe this is why they're poor. I see stuff all the time and I know what's going on and stuff. I'm not saying I want to support every community I've ever seen in the world. But I understand how business works and stuff. I understand that in my neighborhood, I go across the street and there's the pain clinic, the rehab clinic, the hospital, 25 plus doctors. This is literally across the street. And right across the street of that is like, I'm surprised I don't see people like strung out and stuff walking around the streets. That's actually a few blocks down the road. But if you just go like right one block down, it's pretty much like a wasteland. Everything's been shut down and closed for a long time. But they got plenty of resource. The grocery store ain't even open past 8 out here usually. It's customer service shuts down at 8. I think it closes at 9. I thought they used to be 24-hour stores. And most of the stores over there aren't stores, they're doctors. And even the stores have the prescription, so you just go to the doctor and take it there, and then you go to the rehab like 2 months later, and then you come over here to live. I see patterns like that, and I don't think those patterns are that cool and stuff. That's one reason why I'm always attacking hospitals, is because I see that, and I'm like, that's a little too many doctors to have in one neighborhood. That is, people can't afford doctors, but they might be on government insurance, being forced to like, do that. So anyways, I think that's what it is. They're probably backing people, whether for good or not. Like, I mean, I'm watching the Russians talk about how great Kissinger was, and he helped the Russians. The Russian media, RT. Is that really even Russian media, or is that Western? Is that Israeli propaganda? And we're isolated from Russia totally, because You don't see those Asians online, I can tell you that. And I do recall reading over a decade ago they have their own internet, and that's why. And West Oceania has its repeated patterns of just blatantly lying until they're just erased. Like they'd lie if they had a sword to their throat, I think. So if they say they have an open and free society, like it's built upon getting rid of you if you don't think it's open and free. So I don't fully know what's going on, and I try to read that stuff, but at the same time, every time I read it, they're advertising me like Ben Affleck. They go to the UK to get their media, and they're advertising Kim Kardashian. It's this place. It must be seriously locked down and stuff, because all the media I can get to, it's Bigfoot stories, Kim Kardashian, and Western politics. Like all these places, Western politics. I couldn't get British politics here if I wanted to. There's no one out here talking about British politics and stuff. I have to hope RT talks about some British politics or something, because where did I get that from? I don't even remember where I got some of my stuff from. It was just videos posted on the net. It wasn't like, I mean, because the media in UK is Kim Kardashian and Bigfoot, like the big media. Like we don't even have Bigfoot. They put Bigfoot and UFOs on after like 11 or on Saturday night movie, something like that, right? Or on it's on the History Channel now. Oh, but you would, the normal news, like, at some point in time, they're like, hey, they're too smart. Like, if we start talking about Bigfoot, we can't do that, so let's make tabloid gossip. And the UK just combines it all into one, and it's like, okay, yeah, I really believe anything here. So I'm just going to assume that people are taking advantage of the situation. I know what's going on here, right? I mean, like, the whole situation's being orchestrated from the top down. The clash of civilizations. And I don't know, from what I gather, like I said, I think RT is not Russia. A very good chance of that, because they praise American actors and stuff way too much. And like anyone in Russia cares about the stars of Friends or something. Like anyone who even gets to wanting to read Russian media has ever even watched Friends. I don't think people who read news and are into politics have ever watched shows like that. You might watch them sometimes when you're younger, and then if you're like on Russian media, you don't watch Friends. I'm pretty sure that's just how it is. And so that's suspect. You just got everyone who wants all that stuff. Like everyone wants everyone's stuff. There you go. I don't have to make any more videos. I just told you the answer to every question you got. Everyone wants everyone's stuff. Now, I met some people who I thought were good people, and generally they're quiet. So I really don't even know fully what goes on in their heads. But, boy, it's like the whole world kind of just like fights over the weaker people and stuff to see who can get the upper hand and secure their resources. And there are strategic resource locations in the world, and I guarantee you, just like my battle map of choke points for land battles, I guarantee you the resources are there too. What do we know about Ukraine? Nothing. All I know is before we supported Ukraine, the liberal media I paid attention to, Vice and all that, was posting videos about their Nazis, and pretty much like when they're doing that, they're saying, let's go, it's pretty much they're Nazis. They're going to kill us if we don't kill them. And then magically that switched around. They just stopped talking about that. And now the Republicans, Elon Musk and pals, are kind of picking up on it. And it's like, oh, what's the plan here? Maybe they're just clearing out Ukraine like they did Germany, it looks like, because that is Khazaria, so they gotta rebuild it, as they kept saying. And so I think that's probably just the same thing going on in Africa that's been going on for a long time. Is there's people who want the resources, and at this point in the world, there's other nations who have been able to make ground against the long-standing Western Empire and have engaged in war with them, and they've not been shut down like the little nations that attempt to do this. The ones that don't band together. If you're like Gaddafi and you're like, if they're like, okay, just stop fighting, give up your weapons, and we will leave you alone. And he's like, okay, that's a good idea. And then they kill him. I mean, that was. I mean, it's a good example, but people should have known that. These other people are just kind of like in the way. I mean, they enslaved the West Africans and sold them at one point. I mean, they were selling everyone and stuff. They enslaved the Irish too. I mean, and supposedly they enslaved the Hebrews before they became who they are today. I don't know. Don't know about that long back. I wasn't around as far as I knew. But I do know that the battle for resources there seems to be the main thing, and there's a lot of nations there. There's nations who would like to destabilize that place. There's nations who have the resources, who'd like to keep it. There's nations who want the resources, who know they can use leverage because the people there feel looted by the nations who have been there for a while. So that's just a few of the groups we've got involved in Africa. I'm assuming there's at least one more group there that stays below the radar, but they have a pretty well balanced nation, pretty advanced technology. Their people seem to understand computers and stuff like that. And they go under the radar, so I'm assuming I've heard enough of them to assume that they have their own personal agenda. It's just that agenda might actually be just to not get too involved with what everyone else is doing, which could work if you're not small like Syria. You're a little bit bigger like a smaller continent, then you have enough like force and borders to defend yourself, especially while everyone else is killing each other off instead of focusing on you. I think that's probably what it is. There's probably obviously there's a power struggle going on, and it's probably all the nations involved in everything else right now. We know that they use their little low-key methods to destabilize and topple people they dislike. We know that they own the resources there. We know Elon Musk owns some resources, and other people do too. You don't know about most of those people, but it's kind of easy to see. And Foundation X, we can assume, is the Rothschild, and if they have the largest gold reserves never before seen on the planet, they either brought them from planet Timbuktu, or they've been down there mining gold for a long time. And they're in charge of the gems. I mean, look, it's Elon Musk and Pal and Rothschild family and stuff. So that's probably what it is. But you know what? I mean, a lot of times it just looks like it's about killing the people off because there's, I don't know, too many of them, and they can get out of hand if they actually do rise up. Like, I kind of feel maybe that's what's going on in Ukraine, is there's just too many people there, and they need to clear the land out, and it's possible they're all kind of working together to do that, because they're all doing that. So, whether that's cause or effect, Just a bad side effect of war, I guess, right? Who could have guessed that was going to happen? Probably, probably not the people who want to move there, right? So I would think like the power struggle there in Central and West Africa is the same power struggle it's been for a long time. Just they want the resources. They don't want to occupy the land. For some reason, they don't cleanse people. I think that's because there's probably 1,000 years history of needing manual slave labor. And now that they have like advanced robotic automation, which technically I haven't seen too much advanced robotic automation or AI, but that could be because it's entirely only for the rich elite and not for the slave classes. But you do reach that point in time where there might be too many people on your land, and I mean, we got these people fighting, claiming they're against each other, and but at the end of the day, the people at the top are kind of like working together, being shady. Like when you have Alex Jones, the guy Trump thanked for the win, largest media in the USA, saying, just spending decades talking trash about Kissinger and all that. And you have Russia Today praising Kissinger for good policies that help stabilize Russia, especially because some of those policies sound like it was cleaning up people who talked about the protocols of Zion. They seem to be praising him during that era or similar related policies that was the government that retained power up until a certain position, if it ever stopped retaining power, correct? So, and then we have Alex Jones claiming to be entirely against those people, advertising those people. Like, I wouldn't know who RT was if it wasn't for Alex Jones, I don't think. So, and then the liberal media in the US started talking about RT as well. So, when you have that going on, and he's lying and doing things like getting people rounded up for, I don't know, it was a good publicity stunt, but I mean, were you really expecting to take over the Capitol or something? I don't. It's good media coverage, especially if you need it as a tool to shift power in a certain direction. It worked for that, but I don't think there's anyone in the world who thought you could just invade the Capitol with 100 people or something and have the empire, the capital of the empire of the world that has like they could just nuke that city and not even care if there was like a 1,000,000-man army and they're like, we're here, we won. They wouldn't care. And most of the USA I don't think would care either. They'd be like, oh, hey, they tried to take our stuff from us. So when you have those media outlets, maybe everyone just lies so much that that's all they can do, and so you have no idea what's going on because of that. But it could be well orchestrated lies. I mean, how did they get to the top in the first place without that stuff? When supposedly it's like the East versus West and Africa, and you got Africa wanting to fight for their own independence as well. And you got two groups there who can view it in a lot of ways. That we got some third worlders here. We can make them do whatever we want. How do we play these cards? And I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, most nations' interest is themselves. I'm not too sure I've ever met people who think another nation is more important than theirs, so their leaders, hell, you might get shot if you say something differently, or poisoned, or you might never make it to TV to run for a leader of that nation or anything in that nation if you don't put your nation first in some way. So they're probably destabilizing the place just to cause chaos, maybe even just to distract from the other stuff going on. But at the same time, the East is definitely talking about like moving in there and making better relations. And hell, I haven't seen anyone call out the fact that they're like the poorest nation on the earth, possibly outside some tribal island somewhere. And poorest nations. And the richest person in the world owns the resources. So, I mean, probably got a lot to do with that. I don't know if like they're like intelligent enough to know that, but I figure if it's happening right outside your door, you kind of figure it out. You probably see people coming up in their Humvee, armored Humvee convoys and stuff, and things like that, and you're like, what the hell is that? Like, I don't even own a scooter and stuff. And you're like, how did they get all that? Oh, they're taking all that stuff over there. So that's obviously the root. And then you have those other groups fighting to control that, whether they're acting as friends or what. I mean, we know that this is like there's whole departments of military dedicated to things like psyops, aid, and warfare. So those three things might all be ran by the same company and being ran in different nations. And well, if you just happen to have no money, no real military, it could be real easy for everyone else to come around and do that stuff to you and manipulate you with stuff like that. And they're probably I mean, it's like Ukraine. It's just a piece of land for them to battle on, right? Like that's all those choke points are. And I guess the open area, middle area of Africa isn't quite a choke point, but it kind of is when you have the south kind of semi-colonized and the north kind of desert no one lives in, and then Egyptians. So they are kind of, I mean, it's a large area, so it's not like a major. If this West Africa area was like a little Israel or a little Ukraine's actually technically not little, but feels like a little Vietnam, a little South Korea, a little Alaska, a little Hawaii. It probably would have been replaced a long time ago, or just fully put under control, because, 30 years ago, thousands of years ago, slavery was important. You couldn't just take over land and the land work itself. You had to keep some people alive to do that. But it's like those choke points, but it's not a choke point because it's kind of like it looks like an open area on the map, even though it's surrounded by vacant desert and semi-colonized land and Egyptians. So that's all it is. The same thing it's been, and they're probably destabilizing the place, and they're probably pissing off the East by destabilizing it. Who's destabilizing it? I don't know. Who is Elon Musk? Who does he work for and stuff? And then, but you got the East. You got, like I said, I don't know if RT's really them, and I'm not too sure about us getting a hold of any media that's not Oceanianet. But they praise Kissinger, and it's like, well, Kissinger's technically his policies. I mean, we can go on and on about this. Who's praising Kissinger and who's saying hate Kissinger, and then they're telling us to follow these other people praising Kissinger, and just how that's like a little circle there of just blaming the Rothschild for 5 or 6 things, or I guess technically RT's kind of praising that bloodline in certain ways anyways. They use some different language there sometimes, but sometimes it's almost like they're putting stuff out there just to tell you certain things. Anyways, yeah, that's what that is. Obviously, they're fighting for the resources. I mean, that's what they're saying it is too. They're saying the West is, they're tired of France, and then the people are like, I mean, everyone is taking some sort of deal from somewhere. And what deals is Africa actually taking? Supposedly a lot less, or West Africa, Central Africa, is supposedly taking a lot less deals than they used to. And they're saying that they want those people out entirely. And, well, you got the East right there saying that they're willing to work with them. And we can just take a few guesses if there's like 7 ragtag rebel groups in Africa trying to overthrow a government who's, it seems to have been pretty relatively peaceful. But peace can come when you don't bite master's hand. Master might allow you to live without dying. So that peace doesn't necessarily mean good times, happy days, and sunny rays. But now we've got some overthrows going on. And do I know what deals the leaders of these areas are doing behind closed doors? No, I didn't pick up on anything that was really out of hand looking. So, but it's not like, I don't think anyone's going to come out and tell. I mean, because if they came out and told some stuff, then their rebel groups would, be like, see, look, we knew what we were doing and stuff. And they probably just see that. They probably just see, like, Elon Musk and Pounce over there with their fancy Humvee trucks hauling off the gems, shooting them, NASA rockets back to USA, back to his bank accounts and stuff, however they do it. Likely using them as labor, but as far as I know, that'd be a dumb idea to use those people for labor if you're just taking their resources from them. Because although I heard they used to like really enslave them, and they do things like cut off your hands and stuff if you tried to steal a piece of gold you found or something like that. But I would personally think that's stupid. But I also think it's stupid to take a country's resources and not like help that country develop somewhat as well, like, because that's going to lead to them being like, what's up, how come you get all this, and we're just stupid and lazy. Like, that is, I mean, that's what their media says. It just says they're stupid and lazy. And I mean, are they lazy if they're the ones working the mines though? Like, that sounds like hard work. I thought miners used to die all the time in America. Anyways, yeah, that's probably it. There's probably the group at the top, and you can't really mention, controls the gems in the mines. I mean, no one even mentions that Elon Musk is owning that stuff, really. I heard a couple things a month ago or something. But no one ever mentioned which gem mines, even. Like, it's not even in that depth of research. It's just like, that's how he got rich and stuff. They don't really focus on that either. They're just like, he's Forbes Man of the Year. He's got those African mines. It's like, no, he's Forbes Man of the Year. He's working with NASA and stuff. It's like, I don't think that's where the money came from to start. And for all we know, he's not making lots of profit from what he's doing, and he's increasing mining to get more resources, and that'd be a good cover for that too. So yeah, that's probably what's going on. The same thing that's been going on. Nothing new, except for Elon Musk is the world's richest man and owns mines. And I mean, that could be, if they're educated enough over there to see that, I could see them like getting really upset that their government works with them. Supposedly they've been upset for a long time over this stuff, like for eternity. So it's just a matter of what could they do? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So what do you do when Elon Musk and pals own all the media and stuff? And it's like they're doing this circle dance, telling you go here, and those people aren't even really compatible, except for their lies are often compatible.